Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division in the Glenmonarch 9-hole cup. The video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. So let's go. First, we're going to start by playing with a Quasar. It gives us a power 1 and a side spin 2. We do want to use as much side spin that we can to the left, which is 4.5 bars, combined with 4.5 bar topspin. Aiming very close to the rough line to the left. The thing that we do want to do is that we do want the ball to bounce and then to roll up to the top of the fairway. Not necessarily have to be at the top of the fairway, but just at that area. The thing to have in mind with the drive is that you do need to over adjust the drive. And now when you make an over adjustment, it means that you do add to your adjustment. And that is because we play downhill, and every time we play downhill, the ball is going to be affected more by the wind. Shot number 2 here, it's going to be a very good opportunity for you to make an eagle from distance. Not that I say that you should be making it, but it's definitely a possibility. We will have to under adjust our shot here. So this is the opposite to what we did with our drive. When we do under adjust, it means that the ball is less affected by the wind, also called playing this shot uphill. So the ball is less affected by the wind, so then we do have to subtract that from our original adjustment. You can see that I make a little mistake here, that I go in with a beginner short iron. That was not intentional, and it's going to make this approach shot, of course, a lot harder, as I do not have any top or backspin, and I do not have any good ball guideline whatsoever. Still gonna do my best though, and it's going to be once again a good opportunity, no matter if you play with a beginner short iron or you play with maxed out clubs. And now when we do prepare for hole number 2. Hole number 2 here, it's going to be a par 3. And this par 3 is going to be absolutely a good possibility for you to make an hole-in-one. You can see that our opponent is playing there at the first type of fairway. I don't agree with that, because I do feel that when we are in between clubs, and being in between clubs means that we are just at where the next club starts, or the next club, or the new club ends. And that is always very tough to make an adjustment there. Our opponent makes this shot very good, and then we're going to go up and we're going to use the club that gives us the best accuracy and also the best ball guideline. And for us here, it's going to be the Viper. I'm going to use half a bar of backspin here, but I would and should be using 1 bar of backspin, because the ball guideline is fooling us a little bit here. It looks like we're gonna go short, but we are not. We're gonna go long. And when we make this adjustment here, we're going to play it in medium distance with a 10% over adjustment. So once again, this shot is played downhill, and then we will have to add to our adjustment. The ball gets up in the air, it hits the rough, and then we just miss there to the left, but we can also come in a little bit too hot. That's why 1 bar of backspin, medium distance of your club with a 10% over adjustment. Hole number 3 here, and this is going to be a very tough hole for players playing in rookie, or let's say for everyone in whatever division. The thing that I'm trying to do here is to use 1 bar of topspin and then go with a decent amount of overpower to bounce over the rough and the sand. Because the problem we have here, though, if we just trying to get our ball to fairway, then we will not be able to reach for the green in 2. So the only way for us to reach for the green in 2 is to get to the very top of the fairway here. And that is something that we do. If that is the case, which is the case now, then we will have to play our drive very aggressive. I'm playing with a power 3 ball that gives me distance. That is also a must, otherwise you cannot reach that either. Getting very unlucky here, rolling directly into the rough. And then I normally say when we get into the rough, then we are dead, and etc, etc. But in this case we are not. It's not that we can't reach for the green. We took a chance that didn't work out this time, and that is a chance we do need to take another time as well. Because even though, once again, that if you're just trying to play safe and go very short on the fairway, you cannot reach for the green in 2, then it's better to take a risk where the reward is going to be massive, where you can reach for the green in 2, or you miss like I did here, then you cannot reach for the green in 2. Once this happened though, then you will have to just lay up, and we're gonna come to that just in a little bit. The last thing I will have to say for the drive here, we do need to over adjust this drive as well. And once again, to just repeat ourselves, when you do over adjust, it means that you are playing downhill. So in that case, you will have to add to your adjustment, otherwise you're most likely going to go short or you're gonna go long depending on what type of wind you're going to have. So always downhill, over adjustment, you need to add. Uphill, under adjustment, you need to subtract. So, second shot here, I do have the rough iron and I'm playing with max topspin, and the only plan for me now is to get my second shot to fairway. I'm not going to try to push this one going max overpower, trying to reach as far as possible. I'm just going to make sure that I'm getting myself onto the fairway and getting as much distance possible without having to overpower my shot. Because the thing that I'm looking for as the third shot is to approach the pin with my short iron or with my long iron. And in this case, it's going to be a short iron, and I'm going to be able to go for the dunk, which is an adjustment I like. That doesn't have to be that you like to go for the dunk, but at least from this spot now, you do have a shot approaching the pin, and that is the important part. So we're not just getting into the rough and feel that, okay, screw that, I'm not going to even get, I'm not going to get an eagle. We still have the chance, never give up. And that is going to be something that you will have to look at this hole here on hole number 3. For the second shot, we do not need to over or under adjust anything. So that shot is pretty simple. Then we just have to play it as it is. The third shot here, if we do find us in this spot, then we will have to under adjust our shot. It's uphill. And once again, the elevation is tough. But under adjustment here, we do need to subtract from our original adjustment. And I'm going to play for the dunk here, and this might look as a fun shot or a very technical shot. I play for the dunk because I feel comfortable with playing that way. If you once again don't feel comfortable with doing that, then don't do it. That's up to you to decide. But at least you can see now that even though we went into the rough as a start, we still have a possibility making an eagle from distance. So now we're gonna go to hole number 4, and hole number 4 is a par 3, so we do have 2 par 3s amongst the first 4 holes. This is one of my favorites, I would say. The only thing I would like you to do here is to play with a wood club that gives you minimum 2.5 bar topspin. And the reason I say that is because we're having a headwind and we do need to use the topspin while bouncing into the rough. And playing with the Viper here only gives me 1.5 bar topspin. So I changed to the Big Dog, which is not a favorite club by any means, but it gives me topspin. And I'm playing this one 2 and a little bit extra in topspin, aiming, as you can see, with the ball guideline with the yellow ring first there by the fringe line, then the ball guideline pointing slightly to the right of the pin, and then we're going to play this shot in medium distance plus 10%. So we do need to over adjust 10% for this approach as well. Not going to do any curl, any side spin, just going to have the top spin. And here you can see we roll very, very nicely and we get the ball in the hole. And there you can see if we only would be using 1 or just 1.5 bar, we wouldn't be able to reach up towards the pin. So therefore 2.5 bar top spin is a minimum when it comes to having that on your wood club. So choose the wood club depending on the topspin. Hole number 5. Now we're going to go back to the more conservative way of playing. We're not going to take a big risk as we did on hole number 3. Here we're going to lay up. We're going to use a wood club, and it doesn't really matter what wood club you're having, but I would prefer to have a wood club with a decent amount of backspin. So I can, in this case, use max backspin. Using a ball with minimum side spin too is preferred. It's not a must, but it's preferred. We get over here and we bounce and we get the ball to be as close to the rough line on the left as possible. The reason we want to do that is that we want to approach the pin in a way that we take away the risk of getting into the water. If you do have a higher level club, now I'm talking about those of you playing with extra mile 7 and 8s, and also those of you playing with Thor's Hammer, maybe level 4, level 5 plus, then you can actually find a way to go for green directly here. It's not going to be easy because you do need to have a decent amount of curl, but there is a possibility of doing so. I'm not going to show an approach like that, as I feel that this approach speaks towards the majority of those players of you that are playing in Rookie Division. So we have laid up there. Don't forget to add the 10% for your drive as well, very important. And now I'm using 3 bars of backspin and as much side spin to the right possible. You maybe wonder why I'm using side spin here, because we can go directly at the pin. The reason I do that is I do want to grade proof my shot, which means that I want to give myself as much distance from the rough line to the right possible. So even if I hit a great shot to the right, or even a good shot to the right, I should be okay and bouncing on the fairway first. Now we're getting it close, and this is going to be a possibility for an eagle, even though it's going to be a tough one. And elevation, once again, 10% for the drive, 10% for the second shot as well. We need to over adjust. Hole number 6. Now we are back to a more aggressive approach. Take the driver that gives you the most distance. I would suggest an extra mile in any form. I do have an extra mile level 5 here, which is not much, but it definitely gives me at least above 225 yards of power. 4.5 bar topspin and a power 3 ball, and we do want to try to bounce over the rough and the sand and gain as much distance as possible here on the fairway. From this spot we are going to have the opportunity to get very close to the green, and that is something that is going to be a huge advantage for you compared to your opponents, because this is a par 5 where we will see 90% birdies. And that is because the drive there is not a drive that many players are playing when they're playing from front tee. And also many players will not have the equipment, or they won't be having the ball to be able to bounce over. If you do not have an extra mile, or you have like an extra mile level 1, or you don't have any power 3 balls, then you cannot get over, as you could see our opponent tried. Then you lay up before the bunker, and then you're gonna play yourself safely through the green and make a birdie, and if you're not shipping it in from distance, making an eagle. Now I'm using the big dog as the second shot. Why do I once again use the big dog? Because we want accuracy, we want ball guideline, but here we do want distance. We want distance, we want topspin. So here I'm using 5 bars of topspin and as much distance, of course, on my club possible, and as much side spin to the right possible. Then in the end we're gonna apply something that the big dog has, which is also very valuable. It's the curl. We do go max curl to the right, and you can see how close we're getting our ball to the green here, and this is going to help us getting an eagle here. And believe me, if you figure this one out and you are getting consistent eagles on this one, you are not just going to win every tour game, or at least the majority of them when you play in the regular tour game, but you are also going to see a bunch of players in your bracket in the mini tournament here that will be making just a birdie, and then you will have one extra shot on your opponents. So we are going to take our wedge, we are going to focus, and we are going to get it in the hole. Super important opportunity here, and when we do have a wedge, it's very important that we do not over adjust or overplay our shot. When we are so close to the green, we do not need to aim more than just outside the cup as to compensate for winds that is around 5 miles per hour. Aim is straight at the pin, and now just look at the ball guideline. I'm just moving it a little bit to the right, just to the outside of the cup there. And the biggest issue I think many players has, especially if you are new to this game, is that you often over adjust your wedges, that you can aim way out to the right, way out to the left, and then still miss your shot. So the trick for short wedges like that is to make a very little adjustment. Hole number 7, par 3, very good shot from our opponent, and here we do need to play with elevation once again. We do need to add 20% to our adjustment. That is a lot, I know, but it's something that we need to do, otherwise we're going to have a problem when it comes to the water that we do have there. If you do want to take a complete safe route, use a guardian in whatever level. It has the backspin, aim directly at the green, and then take your birdie. But if you're going for the hole-in-one, 1.5 bar topspin, yellow ring just there by the rough line, and then we're going to play it medium distance plus 20%. And you can see I'm not using any side spin, any curl and stuff like that. I'm just using the top spin and then adjust my shot, aiming straight at the pin. The 1.5 bar top spin is gonna get myself very close, and if you're lucky, you're gonna get it in the hole. Very nice, and we will take that all day and every day. Hole number 8 is it now, and now we're going to go straight forward, and I'm using a quasar ball. Do you really need to use a power 1 side spin 2 here, Tommy? Not really, but it will help. We do need a little bit of distance from tee, and I would say a power 1 ball is what I would like to prefer, and once again, it's not a must, but a navigator or a quasar. The quasar in this case gives me side spin because I want to put my ball as much into the right as possible, so I do have just a minimum amount of distance towards the pin. The drive in itself is going to also be played downhill, so once again we're going to have to add to our adjustment. So we do add 10% to our adjustment, and then we take our shot. No curl whatsoever, just the side spin and the top spin, and then the original adjustment. Our opponent's going to play out to the right, and I do not believe this is the route to play. For once, we do have the water in play. For the second reason is that with the wind that we are having, we're going to have a straight tailwind towards the pin. And on playing on the right side as our opponent did, he's going to have a crosswind. And therefore, playing with wind, just completely in your back or in your face is it's much easier to get something to drop with that. It kind of gives you room of coming in too hot, and therefore gonna drop it anyway. You can see I'm aiming straight at the pin. I'm moving the top of the ball guideline a little bit before the pin because the ball guideline isn't fully developed, and we need to think about that. And therefore we're just going to make sure that we are aiming a little bit before the pin. No top spin, no back spin, no side spin, anything. And then we're not going to add or subtract anything for this shot. Coming in very nicely, and we're getting ourselves another lovely eagle. Last but not least, hole number 9, and this is going to be a tricky one. Max side spin, 1 bar top spin. And the top spin is so important here, everyone. I see not daily, but when I play this hole, almost every time I see players using 3, 4, 5 bars topspin because they believe that the ball will have enough room to roll on the other side of the rough and the water. It hasn't. So we do need to use 1 bar of topspin, max side spin, and then we go with as much curl that we possibly can to the left, which with an extra mile is half a ball of curl outside the adjustment range to the left. We're playing with a power 3 ball, not really because of the drive, but for the second shot. The second shot is going to be tough because even though we made it to the fairway, it's not over yet. The drive as well is going to be played downhill. 15% extra is needed to be able to get the ball to bounce at the intended landing spot. Going now towards the second shot here, you do need distance once again. Play with the wood club that gives you the most distance. Don't really bother about any other stats. You do need distance. And in my case here, it's going to be the big dog. And here you can play it 2 ways. You can either go with a little bit of overpower, trying to bounce with your first bounce on the fairway, then over the rough for the second bounce to be on the fairway on the other side, or you use topspin and trying to get the second bounce to be in the tiny rough line there and to roll then out onto the green. So, and you can see here that I will have to go with overpower even though I have a power 3 ball, but make sure that you at least give yourself a chance on this one. This is going to be a tough one, and if you do get an eagle on this one, it's definitely going to be once again something that not every of your opponent is going to get. We get it nicely to the green, we're going to have a pot, and we're going to pot it in for an eagle. This is a tough tournament for players playing a rookie with lower level clubs. I would say that this is one of the tougher tournaments for rookie division that we have had in a while. And you will see yourself being able to qualify with -7, -8, I believe. And there will be a good possibility for you that if you study the guide, maybe you ask questions in the comment section or something like that, you are definitely going to be able to get a banner, because everyone qualifying from the qualifying round is going to get a banner, because then it's the final round already. There is timestamps in the video description down below. Also, you can find the rest of the content for the Glenmonarch 9-hole cup on golf-tommy.com. There you can also sign up to get text guides for specific tour and other tournament play. The video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. I want to wish you the best of luck in the 9-hole cup.